Mortgage rates are plummeting. Should home buyers jump into this newly emerging market in 2024? Let's hear what some of the experts say, and we're going to get into it. Here we go.
You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Now, San Francisco has got some crazy stuff going on. I cover a lot of that on the News for Reasonable People. And if you're enjoying this content, love to have you subscribe to the Summit channel. Love to have you subscribe to News for Reasonable People. We got a lot of content on there. But what you've got going on in San Francisco is you've got this work from home situation, and a lot of people have left the downtown core, and San Francisco has got a lot of its own inherent issues. It's got leadership that is taking the city in a different direction, and it's not boding well for real estate values. But with the exception of like a San Francisco, the vast majority of other areas throughout the United States, you've got prices going up because, yes, you've got a much smaller pool of buyers because people can't afford these mortgages at the rates we're talking about, even 6.6%. It's not happening, but there's so few homes on the market. The supply is so constricted. I did a search with the Summit Properties Northwest real estate broker, and we were looking at a massive multi-mile area, and under $500,000, there was virtually nothing. There was a handful of listings, and what listings were out there were just absolute junk. And this is a big area. It's the Kent area in Kent and Auburn area, kind of south of Seattle. Big area, and there's virtually nothing out there. And that's because these sellers don't want to sell because they've already got a mortgage at 3%, 2.75, maybe even 3.5%, whatever they've got. If they sell now, they give up that super low interest rate, and they got to go out and buy in today's mortgage rate environment, which at 6.6 is better than a hair over 8, which is where we were late at the, what was that? Second quarter of 2023. We had over 8 interest rates. And so those sellers of homes, those potential sellers, they don't want to make that move. And you know what? I don't blame them. Will interest rates come down to 6%? Yeah, I think you get something with the 5s in front of them before this year is over. So let's kind of go through the article here, and we'll break it down a little bit more. Mortgage rates have plummeted in recent weeks. Well, I wouldn't say just dropped historically, but they've gone down. All right. Many forecasters predict mortgage rates will drop further. I totally agree. I think you'll get into the high 5s. That's where you'll be. However, since the Federal Reserve expects to cut its benchmark interest rate this year, so we've gone from having how many, bumps up did we have? A ton. And that's why rates, they're trying to slow inflation by bumping up the federal funds rate, the rate that the federal banks charge each other, members of the Federal Reserve. But those circumstances pose a quandary for buyers. Jump into a newly attractive market that promises thousands of dollars in gains, because we're talking about having appreciation, maybe up to 4%. I think you have more appreciation than that, than what this article is saying. I'm thinking 5, 6, 7% in a bunch of markets, just because your supply is so low. And when you get that little bit of gasoline on the fire, with those rates coming off even a little bit more, you jump under 6%, you're going to have some runs in some markets. So again, you put that gasoline on the fire in a market that has very little supply in real estate. There's one way for prices to go up, and it is not down. I'll tell you that. Home buyers would be well served by a leap into the current market, since this is pro real estate here. Since the movement of mortgage rates often proves difficult to predict, and purchasers reserve the ability to refinance if rates continue to fall, experts told ABC News. Okay, so that's the pro. The con is that rates don't go down, you can't refinance, and values go down. Oh, I just got triple whammied. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. You don't know. So there is always something to be said for, if the situation today works for you, maybe then it's time for you to jump in. If you can make it work today, take that gamble that rates are going to go down. But that approach does carry risks, some experts added, noting the loss of additional time to pad one's finances as well as the possibility of a decline in home value after the purchase if the market worsens. I don't think you're seeing most markets worsen, and the amount of time that you're going to take to pad, say you're putting money into savings for that down payment, that gets eaten up, in my opinion, right now by the tiniest amount of appreciation, right? So yeah, you saved a few grand more, but the cost of that house went from 610 to 635. Was it worth it? Yeah, you run the numbers, right? If you need to buy a property, go ahead and buy it. Martel something is running on him. A professor of finance and business at New York University told ABC News, don't try to time the market. Yeah, that's absolutely true. If it works for you and you've got like a 5-year game plan, we're going to live here for 5 years. This is what we're going to do. You can make that work. Then I'd say, go for it. But that's going to be the vast majority of advice out there. If it works today, it's good. Last year, mortgage rates reached their highest level in more than 2 decades. And it was painful because it basically shut the real estate market down. And I own not only Summit Properties Northwest, but Reynolds and Klein Appraisal. And it's been 2023 was a terrible year for appraising because we haven't had any refinances. That's always a big chunk of what's going on in our marketplace is people refinancing into a lower rate or whatever. But people weren't doing that. And that kind of started basically July of 2022. We've had 18 plus months of just slow real estate because rates are holding back not only sellers putting their home on the market, but buyers from affording or wanting to afford a new house. But rates have declined sharply over the past few months. As of last week, the average interest rate for a 30-year fixed mortgage stood at roughly 6.6, way down from 8 or 8 plus. But enough to move the needle significantly? No, but some. I think that's what you're going to see in 2024 is some movement because we're getting back to a more normal market, which is we're not having interest rates at 3% because we're freaked out about the pandemic, right? We're past that now. People have taken their masks off. Mortgage rates have plummeted in recent months. So here's that chart. 6.57% back in May. All right. 7.79% back in October and 6.61% in right now. So, we've kind of gone up and then boop, down the other side. So each percentage point decrease in mortgage rate can take tens of thousands of dollars in costs each year, depending on the price of the house. The fall of mortgage rates coincided with an announcement from the Fed that it expects to cut interest rates this year. So it's all based on what the Fed is kind of telegraphing, what they're signaling. So that's why everybody talks about what the Fed and reads into the Fed, governor's speeches. And, if they make this tiniest little comment, everybody just jumps on that and the market can gyrate wildly. Such plans would reverse a near historic series of rate increases over the past year that sent mortgage rates soaring. What were they trying to do? They were trying to break the back of inflation. So when you put trillions of dollars into the economy, you're going to have inflation. And it's not going to be transitory like we were promised. It's going to be here for a while, and it's been here for a while. And that's what we've been dealing with. So anybody that told you inflation was temporary or transitory, it's only going to be here for another month or two, was lying to you. They were lying to you. So we all knew it. You float trillions of dollars through the economy, you're going to have some inflation roaring down the pipeline for quite a while. Meanwhile, you got to try and cut those interest. You got to try and get those interest rates to the point where it constricts borrowing, and then you don't have the inflation because nobody's able to afford anything. Mortgage rates closely track with 10-year Treasury bond yields, which last month reached lows last seen in August. Those yields are highly sensitive to the Fed's interest rate moves. So the 10-year Treasury bond and mortgage rates, they have the most correlation to them. So everybody is looking at the 10-year Treasury that's in real estate, right? Treasury rates are coming down, as is Treasury rates. So will mortgage rates, says Susan Water. All right. How much is the question, though? How much is the question? So that's why we're looking for, all right, is the economic news coming back? Is that good or is it terrible? If you're in the process of buying a home or you're a real estate agent, you want the economic news to come back as terrible because then that will in turn hit some of these indicators, and the Fed will be like, market's not doing good. We can't afford to jack the rates up because that'll impact borrowing, and therefore it's going to impact the market. So let's either keep rates steady or we drop them a little bit. And that's what the market is expecting right now, to drop a little bit. And we'll just have to see how much happens. So we've got this whole guessing game on interest rates. And then we've got this whole guessing game on property valuation. Are homes going up? And for the vast majority of the United States, homes are still going up. Even with where interest rates went, homes are going up because there's enough buyers out there in a constricted marketplace of supply that whenever you do buy something, it puts that upward pressure and prices keep incrementally going up. Not a ton, but enough, right? Is it a 2, 3, 4%? Yeah, it's probably somewhere in there, depending on what market you're in, depending on what city you're in, depending what your economic, drivers are for that marketplace. But values have not dropped. I hear people in the comments say to me all the time, rates are going through the roof and property values are going down. And I tell them, well, actually, you got some of your facts there, but go ahead and flip that narrative, and then you'd probably be more accurate. Rates are coming down, but prices are still inching their way up. So with that, would I buy in 2024? I think 2024 is going to be about as affordable and about as cheap as you're going to get throughout the next few years. Keep in mind, this year is also an election year, right? Aren't you pumped? Aren't you excited to see who's going to be the front runner for each party? You're kind of like, no, don't want to do that. All right. I don't think there's anything else here. Oh yeah. Yeah, we go on to make some additional comments that are like, okay, we're basically talking about more obvious glimpses of the marketplace. So rates will slowly go down, prices slowly go up. That's my prediction for 2024, sitting in the first quarter of said annual year. All right. If you're enjoying this content, again, love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I release content on this channel probably once a week, something like that. And I'm also doing a number of kind of explainer videos on the Northwest Multiple Listing forums. So if you're a real estate agent in the Puget Sound area, look for some of my forums that I'm doing instructional videos on. Again, thanks in advance for subscribing. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.